Tinder processes about 2 billion swipes every single day. 2 billion. That's more daily decisions than the New York Stock Exchange. Except on the stock exchange, people are trying to find value. On Tinder, they're trying to avoid it. Your grandparents chose from maybe 20 people. You open Hinge on a Tuesday night, and there are 8,000 within 10 miles. We've built the most sophisticated matching technology in human history. Billions of dollars of algorithms designed to connect you with compatible people. And the result? People are lonelier than they've ever been. Relationships are shorter. Commitment is later. That's like building the world's best kitchen and having everyone order takeout. Last video, I talked about the beauty industry. And I said the real product wasn't creams. It was constant evaluation. You become a project. You optimize yourself endlessly. But here's what I couldn't stop thinking about after that video. If the beauty industry taught us to evaluate ourselves, what happens when we bring that same logic to other people? Dating didn't turn into dating. It turned into shopping. And once I saw it that way, I couldn't unsee it. There's a situation I keep hearing about. Not from studies, from people. Someone, let's say a woman, 29, living in a decent-sized city. She's on Hinge, maybe Bumble too. She has 2 or 3 conversations going at any given time. One is funny but lives 40 minutes away. One looks great on paper, but the conversation feels flat. One is fine. Just fine. None of them are bad. That's the thing. Nothing is wrong, but nothing feels like enough either. So she keeps the conversations going, keeps scrolling. Not because she's greedy or shallow, but because there's this quiet question running in the background that never fully goes away. What if the next one is better? And here's what I find interesting. That question isn't new. People have always wondered if they could do better. But 40 years ago, that question had no answer. You met who you met, your neighborhood, your workplace, maybe a friend of a friend. And somehow, the generation with 20 options built marriages that lasted 50 years. Now that question has an app, open 24 hours, with notifications. I read somewhere that when people have 2 or 3 options, they choose and feel good about it. When they have 30, they either can't choose at all, or they choose and immediately wonder if they chose wrong. Dating apps are basically that experiment running on millions of people at the same time, and nobody seems to be enjoying the results. But it goes deeper than just having too many options. It's the way the whole experience is structured. You open the app, you see a face, you evaluate, swipe. Next face, evaluate, swipe. The entire design is built on filtering, not on connecting, on comparison. And after doing that for a year, 2 years, something shifts. Not because you decided to become superficial, but because your brain learns what you practice. You start evaluating people at bars, at dinners, walking down the street. It becomes automatic, not a choice, a habit. And at some point, you're not using the app anymore. The app is using you. The swipe is happening in your head, all the time, everywhere. I talked about this in the beauty video. The industry doesn't sell creams. It sells self-improvement rituals, which is corporate language for look at yourself, see what's wrong, fix it, repeat. Dating apps do something very similar, except the product you're evaluating isn't your skin, it's another human being. Same logic. Swipe left on your wrinkles, swipe left on a person. The gesture is the same, probably not a coincidence. And the result is kind of absurd when you think about it. We've built the most sophisticated matching technology in human history. Algorithms that analyze your preferences, your behavior, your swipe patterns. Billions of dollars of engineering. And what people do with it? Scroll past hundreds of potential partners because someone's second photo was a group shot and they couldn't tell which one they were. We didn't build a connection machine. We built a comparison engine. And comparison, by design, never ends. There's always the next profile. Now, the easy explanation is people are just pickier, more entitled. I don't think that's it. I think what's actually happening is anxiety, not greed. Because choosing someone now means closing your options, on purpose. While everything around you keeps saying the opposite. You deserve the best. Don't settle. There's always more. And when someone says, I'm just not ready for a relationship, translate that. What they usually mean is, I'm afraid that choosing you means losing everyone I haven't met yet. That's not shallow. That's anticipated regret. And I'm starting to think it drives more decisions than money does. You can get a loan for an apartment. There's no loan for a bad marriage. And the thing is, stability used to be free. Not financially, Psychologically, you met someone. It worked well enough. You built something. Nobody asked if you were settling. That word barely existed in this context. Now choosing stability means I stop optimizing. I accept imperfection. In a culture that runs on optimization, that feels like dropping out. It's like everyone's running a marathon and you sit down on a bench and say, "I'm good here." People look at you weird, not because sitting is wrong, but because the race is all anyone knows how to do. We optimize dating so hard that it stopped producing relationships. That's like optimizing a restaurant menu until nobody wants to eat. But here's what really made me think. Because everything I've described so far is about why people don't choose. What about the ones who do? I talked to a friend recently, married, 2 years in, no kids yet, and I asked him something I'd been curious about. Did you feel ready? And he said something I wasn't expecting. He said, "No, I just realized that ready wasn't coming." And I think that's maybe the most honest thing anyone has said to me about this. Because here's what's strange about attachment. It doesn't work the way the comparison model assumes. The comparison model says, evaluate all options, pick the best one, then commit. Like buying a car, test drive everything, then choose. But attachment doesn't form through comparison. It forms through the opposite. Repeated exposure, vulnerability, small moments that accumulate. You don't fall for someone because they were the best option on a Tuesday night. You fall for them because you stayed long enough to see who they actually are. And they stayed long enough to see you. The people who build lasting relationships didn't find a better algorithm. They did something much simpler and much harder. They stopped looking. Not because they found perfection, because they found enough. And then time did what time does. It built something that comparison never could. I find that almost painful to think about, because it means the thing people are searching for, that feeling of certainty, of this is the one, can only be produced by the thing they keep avoiding, staying. You can't comparison shop your way to love. The method contradicts the goal. That's like trying to fall asleep by concentrating really hard on falling asleep. The effort is what prevents the result. So here's the pattern I keep seeing. In the beauty video, I talked about how the industry turns you into a project. You evaluate yourself constantly, you optimize, you compare, and that changes how you see your own body, your own value. What I'm realizing now is that the same thing happened to relationships. The same culture of evaluation that made you look at yourself differently also made you look at other people differently, and not in some abstract way, in a very concrete, daily, swipe-by-swipe way. First, it was your face. Then it was your partner. And I think eventually, and this is where I'm heading with this whole series, it becomes your life, your choices, your timeline. Everything becomes something to evaluate and optimize, including the decision to have children. But I'll get to that. For now, I want to be clear about what I'm saying and what I'm not saying. I'm not saying dating apps are evil. I'm not saying people are shallow. I'm not blaming technology. What I'm saying is that we've built a culture where comparison is the default mode of being. Not just in beauty, not just in dating, in everything. And in that culture, stability, choosing one thing and staying, has become the most counterintuitive decision you can make. Dating didn't turn into shopping because people became worse. It turned into shopping because comparison became the way we interact with everything, including each other. And here's what stays with me. You can return a shirt. You can cancel a subscription. You can unmatch someone at 2 a.m. and feel nothing by morning. But there's something that doesn't work like that. Something that changes your body, your time, your freedom. Something you can't optimize away or swipe past. What happens when the culture of constant evaluation meets something you can't undo? I don't think the answer is comfortable, but I want to try.